Welcome to the Break Vape podcast. I am your host, Tami Ernst. If you are an overwhelmed mom struggling to quit vaping after trying everything in your power to quit, then you are in the right place, mama. Each week on the show, we analyze stress, vaping, and addiction from a place of zero self-judgment so that you can build up the skills you need to ditch your vapes for good. Are you ready? Let's get to work. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so glad that you are here because today I have a very educational topic to talk about that has been around for a while. And with the holidays and everything else going on right now, it's a busy time of year and it's an easy time to slip into bad habits and to stay in old ones because, well, we have the promise of the new year coming up right around the corner. But listen, I am not passing judgment on that. I do want to talk about being informed about vaping though, because it's an epidemic with dangerous layers that just aren't getting covered in the media right now. One of these layers is the actual physical damage and harm that vaping does to your body, which can result in diseases like popcorn lung and EVALI, which is pretty long, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. EVALI stands for e-cigarette vaping product associated lung injury. And I'm pretty sure that definition has gotten longer over time. So I'm going to take you back a while to episodes 2 and 3 of this podcast. You know, when I first started this show, I led with these topics because of how important it is to get the word out. And over a year later, as we go into 2024, their significance is just as important because there is still no cure for EVALI. And sadly, people are literally still passing away or are even on ventilators as we speak. And I think that as a society, we can do better. So I hope that you get to enjoy this episode as you gear up for the holidays. And hey, enjoy your time. Enjoy every single day that you have in this life. But go ahead and plant the seed in your beautiful brain that living vape-free is your reality. And that reality is right around the corner. Thank you so much for tuning in today, my friends. Let's jump in. Over a decade ago, workers in a microwave popcorn factory were sickened by breathing in diacetyl, the buttery-flavored chemical in foods like popcorn, caramel, and dairy products. While it may be tasty, it was linked to the deaths, hundreds of cases of bronchiolitis obliterans, a serious and irreversible lung disease. As a result, the major popcorn manufacturers removed diacetyl from their products, but some people are still being exposed to diacetyl, not through food flavoring such as worksite hazard, but through e-cigarette vapor. When inhaled, diacetyl causes bronchiolitis obliterans, more commonly referred to as popcorn lung, a scarring of the tiny air sacs in the lungs, resulting in the thickening and narrowing of the airways. While the name popcorn lung may not sound like a threat, it is a serious lung disease that causes coughing, wheezing, and shortness of breath, similar to the symptoms of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, also known as COPD. Even though we know that diacetyl causes popcorn lung, this chemical is found in many e-cigarette flavors. It is added to e-juice liquid by some e-cigarette companies to complement flavorings such as vanilla, maple, coconut, etc., etc. So while diacetyl was swiftly removed from popcorn products since it could cause this devastating disease among factory workers, e-cigarette users are now directly inhaling this harmful chemical into their lungs. In fact, researchers at Harvard found that 39 of 51 e-cigarette brands contain diacetyl. Wow, that's 39 out of 51. The study also found that two similarly harmful chemicals, 2,3-pentadone and acetone, present in 23 and 46 of the 51 flavors it tested. And roughly 92% of the e-cigarettes that had one of the three chemicals present. I hope I didn't butcher that. That was a lot of numbers. Moving on. This is an urgent issue for public health, especially given the popularity of e-cigarettes among youth. The American Lung Association believes it's imperative that FDA act quickly to require that diacetyl and other harmful chemicals be removed from e-cigarettes. Remember, the American Lung Association is here to save lives by improving lung health and preventing lung disease. Read our public education statement on e-cigarettes and lung health, and when you're ready to quit tobacco for good, we are here to help. And there you have it. That is the end of the article, and hopefully the beginning of you becoming very curious about popcorn lung and EVALI and all the other reasons vaping is absolutely horrible. Okay,
I'd like to read you all a few posts from some groups that I am in on social media. These are actual people or relatives of actual people who have had popcorn lung or EVALI. So person number 1 says, and of course I've kept their names confidential, I am 44. I started smoking regular run-of-the-mill cigarettes when I was 16 years old. Started smoking full-time at 18 and was the girl who openly stated I would not quit. I enjoyed smoking. It was my quote-unquote thing. I have 2 girls, 18 and 25 now, and I smoked the entire time they were little. I had surgeries and would smoke as I walked into the entrance. You get the picture. December of 2019, I got a sinus infection. No big deal. I get them every winter. I was vaping as my new boss was very health conscious and did not like smokers. I went to the doctor, got antibiotics, prednisone, and vape, and then I woke up in the ICU 2 weeks later on a ventilator and on ECMO. I couldn't speak. I was diagnosed with EVALI. My lungs are a shit show. I have severe persistent asthma and an aneurysm in my heart, memory loss, PTSD. I can't work for my health conscious boss. I can barely take care of myself. EVALI is serious, and I had no idea it existed. My prayers go out to you. Okay, next person says, I'm trying not to get emotional here. This is why we have the podcast, guys. This is why we want to spread the word, spread awareness. This woman wound up in the ICU and didn't even know that EVALI was a thing. That just makes me want to keep doing this podcast. Okay, next person said, I started to get sick in early August 2019 and was hospitalized on August 20th, 2019. I spent 14 days in the hospital, 7 of them in the ICU. Initial diagnosis was pneumonia, then chemical pneumonitis. I was told I was the second person in my state hospitalized with vaping-related injuries, and the diagnosis was updated to EVALI once the term was coined a few months later. A year later, I still have insane shortness of breath and tachycardia upon standing, in addition to flashbacks and panic attacks. I've not followed up much with the doctors as the aftercare post-hospital was truly a mess. This person wraps up by saying, I'm wondering if anyone is still dealing with EVALI-related issues after quite some time and or would want to discuss their experiences in general. I feel very alone coping with everything, especially during COVID. It has been really stressful. My prayers go out to you. The last one that I'm going to include here, I almost cried the first time I read this. I'm going to try not to so I can actually speak to you guys on this podcast. Okay, this person says, my grandson is 15 and he is in the ICU ward. He's lost 45 pounds in 2 weeks. He hasn't eaten solid food in almost 2 weeks. Yesterday was the first time in 13 days that he was able to keep liquids down. Today was the first day in 4 days that he was able to stand up. Of course, the hospital ran tests for anything and everything they could think of. I told them it was going to be EVALI, but they wouldn't believe me. They do now. He has a long road to hoe. Please pray for him. We almost lost him. Oh, so sad. My prayers go out to you and the family of this 15-year-old boy. You guys, this is probably just some kid who picked up a vape socially and had absolutely no idea how bad it was and that it could land him in the ICU. It's awful. We've got to spread the word. Okay, deep breaths. I'm going to try not to cry or get mad. These posts make me so emotional because I know how it feels to try to quit vaping, and I know how weak I felt as a person every time I failed. It was more than I just can't quit. It became part of my identity almost. Like I felt like a failure. I couldn't do it. And I see this theme recurring and happening with people in socials that I interact with about quitting vaping. And you guys, it is a choice to vape or not, but I understand how hard it is. And I wholeheartedly believe that it is not your fault that you are addicted to vaping. If you go back and you listen to the first episode of this podcast, I had everyone do a little exercise where we hold our vapes up in front of us and then we go through how it is a carefully curated billion-dollar industry And all the marketing and research and everything has been created to get you hooked on vapes and to keep you addicted. So it is not your fault. And now that we know how bad it is, let's spread the word because people are dying. Someone asked me on socials last night, actually, how I quit vaping for good. And even though I do have a system that I used that I am kind of creating right now to share with you guys later on, my number one thing that helped me quit vaping for good was to help others quit too. I quit for good, and I would love to take you with me.
So that was from episode 2 that I named Lies and Popcorn Lung. I hope that you found that snippet valuable. And let's move on to what I would love to share with you guys on EVALI from episode number 3, which is called What is EVALI?
So what is EVALI? What am I even talking about? EVALI is an acronym. It is spelled EVALI, and it stands for e-cigarette or vaping use associated lung injury. So in 2019, it used to be called VAPI or VAPI, VAPI, which stands for Vaping Associated Pulmonary Illness. The new name EVALI is in response to an increased percentage of severe lung illness cases related to using e-cigarettes and vape products. For those of you who only use a nicotine vape, don't tune out because vaping in any sense can be the cause of EVALI. The primary cause of EVALI has been pointed out by health officials to be an additive in some THC vapes called vitamin E acetate. Again, vitamin E acetate is the primary but not the only cause of EVALI. In fact, according to Bloomberg, researchers at Johns Hopkins University found that vaping exposes users to around 2,000 chemicals. And a quick Google search will show that some of these chemicals include formaldehyde, pesticide, acetone, ultrafine particles, volatile organic compounds, and heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead. Who can say yuck? So let's talk about the symptoms, the diagnosis, and the treatment of EVALI. Symptoms tend to be very similar to many other respiratory diseases and include shortness of breath, fever, chills, coughing up blood, vomiting, diarrhea, dizziness, rapid heart rate, and chest pain. You guys, so far, 68 people in the United States of America have died from EVALI. It is still so new that there is not a single test to diagnose EVALI. Diagnosis is mostly a process of elimination. All doctors can do right now is take the symptoms into consideration, evaluate a patient's history of e-cig and vaping usage, and they may have to take a chest x-ray or a CT scan to see if there are hazy spots on the lungs. These hazy spots are called opocytes and indicate tissue damage. You guys, this is important. EVALI is so new and unpredictable that there isn't a go-to treatment or a cure. All doctors can do is to try different treatments like antibiotics, antivirals, and corticosteroids to help fight inflammation in the lungs. Many patients are hospitalized and placed on a ventilator. And if that wasn't scary enough, something that truly terrified me when I found out all of this information is that many patients are actually relapsing and even dying soon after being discharged from the hospital, meaning that they went in, they got some kind of treatment, they went home, they had a relapsing event, and may have come close to death or dying. For that reason, doctors recommend that all patients, regardless of severity, schedule a follow-up appointment with a pulmonologist within 48 hours after being discharged from medical care. To date, guys, there is currently no cure for EVALI or popcorn lung. With cigarettes, your lungs can actually heal themselves back to the point of a non-smoker's after a significant amount of time. I think it's for this reason that many people probably assume that the same is true for vaping, and that is 100% false. When it comes to the damage done by popcorn lung and EVALI, it's permanent. Neither of these devastating lung diseases are currently curable. My heart really goes out to all of the victims of vaping who are dealing with these lung diseases. And I use the word victim intentionally because even though vaping is a choice, consumers are manipulated into thinking that vaping isn't that bad, which is 200% wrong. At least with cigarettes, tobacco companies were finally forced to put a warning label on the outside of cigarette packs to inform consumers that cigarettes are harmful. Actually, I saw one of these in think it was in the UK. And in the UK, England, there was a cigarette pack that had big, huge red letters, all capitals, and it simply said, "Smoking kills." That's my favorite one. Not only do vapes not have any kind of warning label on them like that, they take the manipulation even further by branding vapes with tasty flavors, colorful packaging, and even cool lights that are activated by inhaling. I had a vape one time called a party bar. Well, winding up in the hospital, depending on a ventilator to breathe, wasting tens of thousands of dollars on medical care, and scaring the bananas out of my friends and family, if I even lived, does not sound like a party to me. And I'm sure it doesn't sound fun to you either. So let's take charge of our health so that we can do things that are actually fun.
How was that, ladies? I probably sound a little different now than a year ago, which I think is really fun. And you know what? The value of the message is just so solid that I hope it really helps us spread awareness and education around the dangers of vaping so that we can protect our kiddos and all of the generations who are to come. You guys are the best. I hope that you know how amazing you are. Have a wonderful rest of your week and come connect with me on Instagram. Right now, you can find me at Miss Quit Vaping. That's at miss.quitvaping. That's it for this week, mamas. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in today. If you like what was offered in today's show and want even more support, head over to www.breakvapes.com and schedule your free strategy session to discover exactly how my proven system can help you ditch your vapes for good. Bye for now.